So here we are. And I'll give you a very brief rundown of who I am and why I'm here and how I got here. And then I'm going to talk about Vedic meditation. And then at the end, I'm going to give you a taste, a guided taste of this style. I'll give you a sound to use in the mind, and I'll guide you through that. So you can get a little bit of an idea of how we use these sounds in the mind. And you can see very quickly how it differs from all the other meditation practices out there. Okay. So I'm Sam, obviously. And I began meditation when I was 26 in 2016. The reason I learned Vedic meditation was because a friend introduced me to it because I was suffering with something called chronic fatigue syndrome. And if you don't know what that is, it's an accumulation of multiple symptoms: anxiety, depression, insomnia, digestive issues, like feeling unwell a lot of the time, and headaches and all that kind of stuff, brain fog, couldn't concentrate, kind of very difficult. So I was just keeping my head above water, trying to maintain my job and doing a degree as well, a distance learning degree. And so I was basically burning myself out. Beginning of my 20s, I felt I was very naive and I thought I could do everything. And then as I got older and older, the symptoms started to compound and get worse and worse and worse. So I got introduced to meditation as a last resort because I really tried and exhausted all the other options conventionally. I then signed up 3 days later, and I'm just going to put you all on mute for the moment, and then I'll open it up because I'm getting some feedback. And then you can unmute yourselves later on if that's okay. So literally a friend, an acquaintance, someone that I knew, and I'd seen a change in them. He talked to me, and I then went and I signed up, and I was on the course 3 days later in London. That was a 3-day course, and it changed my life. From the very first session, just receiving my mantra, learning how to do it, I felt this peace that I didn't know even existed because I had normalized stress. And I was on the outside, I'm a very, back then I was sort of very controlled, right? Very, you couldn't work me out, if that makes sense. It was, if there was an issue with me, you wouldn't really know. And that was my life for basically all of my 20s, was pretending that I wasn't unwell. And so that was a mask. And just by having the mask is also something stressful. So I learned meditation. I practiced every single day, twice a day, 20 minutes each time. That's the recommendation for this practice. Morning, evening, lunchtime, evening, whenever you can do it in the day, as long as you can do it twice. And I'll explain why it's twice in a bit. But the idea is I meditated every single day for 18 months. And within those 18 months, my health completely transformed. The way that I interacted with the world changed. The way that I processed information and stress and the traumas, and I haven't been exposed to anything crazy in trauma-wise, but we all have our little small t traumas. Some people have big T traumas, but they build up and they accumulate. And if we don't have a way of letting these things go, our system just stores and holds and holds and holds, and then we just end up becoming very reactive, and our nervous system doesn't feel safe. And that's the key here, is that when we feel a symptom, anxiety, depression, there's a part of us that doesn't feel safe often enough. And if we can't feel safe, then we can't heal, we can't recover, we can't get efficient sleep, we can't digest our food properly, yeah, and we can't get the nutrients, and we can't have a good immune system, and so on. So there's a knock-on effect. we need to start feeling safe. So 18 months went by. I learned very quickly during my meditation practice that I wanted to become a teacher, but I was introverted. I didn't like speaking in front of, more than 2 or 3 people at once. I felt like the spotlight. I didn't like that. And at the time, I remember thinking, there's no way I could do that, but I really want to. I really want to do this thing. And as I continued practicing over that 18 months, so did my confidence. So did everything about me start to change, because that fear element was leaving. It was lifting, and that meant that there was an opportunity for infinite possibilities. And it was really where I put my attention that's would then materialize. And then at that 18-month mark, I was invited to go and do a teacher training. So I didn't even have to pay for the majority of it. And that's like it's like a university degree in the UK, right? That's the kind of cost that it is. So it's very, it was just working out. It was just unfolding. I set my attention to this thing. I carried on doing the practice. And then 3 years after I started meditating, I became a teacher. And I went to Bali. I went to, I became a Vedic meditation teacher. I did all the tests. We had 3 months in Bali where I was meditating 15, 16, 17 hours a day sometimes. And we really got put through our paces with becoming a teacher, because you had to be able to teach even if you're feeling unwell. You had to be able to teach even at your worst. So it was like military training for the mind. You're literally with yourself all day, every single day, stillness, no distractions, no mobile phones, no contact with the outside world. Just you, this very small group of other students learning to become teachers, and the teacher. That's it. That changed my life. 2019, I became a teacher, September 2019. So I've been teaching since then. And here we are today, right? And you probably found me because of affirmations on Instagram. And affirmations are a very interesting part of this, because they are something that we practice after we integrate meditation. So for a lot of people practicing affirmations, it's quite instant. We can feel something within 7 days, within 14 days. We can see something happening. We're changing the pathways in the brain. And so now we're at a point where it's time for the meditation to come up and get its time, because it's such an important foundation. So let's go to start with stress. Okay. Stress, the biggest issue we have today, and doctors would agree with this, is about 80 to 85% of patients that go and see a doctor is because of a stress-related illness. Okay. That is basically our nervous system going into our emergency response mode. We call this a sympathetic response, where it feels like it's fighting a wild animal or running away from a wild animal on some level. And we might have mini versions of this throughout the day spread out, but 70% of somebody's day is spent in that survival mode. Okay. Realistically, and in what we would want, is somebody to not even be in 1% of the day. They should only be in that fight or flight response for a very small amount of the day if it required it. Say traffic, and you had to, maybe someone was driving and you had to quickly maneuver to avoid something. That's when your fight or flight response comes in, and it takes over. It gives you that adrenaline. Within 300ths of a second, you're being activated. So it's an involuntary response. And that is happening way too much, and that's draining us. So by being in that state, our immune system is being suppressed. We've just gone through COVID. And when we are feeling fear, which is basically what we were exposed to during COVID, watching the news, listening to all of it, it creates fear for a lot of people. And just by experiencing fear means that your immune system starts to shut down a little bit. The same thing with our digestive system. Okay. Those are the two biggest energy consumers that we have in our body. So when we're stressed, we're running away from a wild animal, those things shut down because we don't need them. So we're treating everything that we experience that trigger us and we feel reactive, we're treating in the same way as a lion or a leopard being in the same room with us. Okay. It's very sort of black and white like that. So now it's how do we get ourselves, how do we regulate ourselves and put ourselves into this parasympathetic? And this is what we call the rest and digest. And this is safety. Okay. Now we also inherit trauma. We inherit stress from our parents. About 7 generations of stress get passed through the different family lines into us. And this is how human beings have made it this far, is that we learn how to react and defend and maneuver in situations, so we increase our chance of survival. But in today's world, we don't need all of those things. And so we have stimulation from emails, Instagram, the internet, TV, friends, bosses, colleagues. We've got all of this noise, finances, relationships, everything. It's just coming in all the time. Okay. And what this does is it muffles our truth, our alignment, who we are. It's like static, it's interference. And so we go into this survival mode because we're trying to cope. We're just keeping our head above water. We're trying to cope with all of this noise and stimulation, too much information coming into our awareness. And so we become reactive naturally. And it's very difficult to be living in our truth, who we really are, when we've got so much noise affecting our nervous system and triggering us often. Okay. So is anybody, can anybody relate to that? Just put your hand up if you do. Because I think it's something that affects everybody. And, you know, I think you're on this call because you're aware of something like that. And this practice is probably one of the best things that you could experience in order to reverse all that buildup of stress, all that family inherited trauma and stress. And we do that just by sitting down comfortably, I would say, with our back supported in a chair, on a sofa, a couch, up in bed. As long as we have our back supported, we can do this practice anywhere. And so we typically would close our eyes. We would sit comfortably, would be a very big thing. And if you want a pillow or cushion around you or on your lap or something, then you would do that. And you just have your hands just in your lap. You would then close your eyes and you would just pick up this mantra that a teacher would give you. Okay, this sound. And these mantras are called bija mantras. They are, the translation means seed. So those sounds are passed on from teacher to student, and that seed is implanted. And then with every meditation, you're nurturing that seed, you're allowing it to grow. And so this is wisdom and growth and consciousness. Yeah. The mantra, so mantra means mind vehicle. It is literally a tool, a vehicle to help the mind go beyond thinking. So we go to a state that's 2 to 5 times deeper than the deepest stage of sleep. Okay. So it's giving you something completely different, a completely different experience. It's not something we can experience in sleep. And you're giving it to yourself 20 minutes twice a day. 20 minutes seems like a long time for meditation, but it flies by. It's just the way of it, the way that mantra comes in, and eventually we forget the mantra and then we drop. And sometimes it feels like we're asleep. Our head might nod forward, but we're not. We're going into a deep sense of safety, calmness, and peace. And from that, the body's starting to absorb that experience. We call this integration. So dipping into that pool of tranquility, that peace, that bliss, you're going to start to take it with every meditation. You start to take a little bit out with you. So this is why we're rewarded with consistency. And as the more we do this, there's an accumulative effect. We are bringing in more peace, more calm, more stillness, more bliss from that experience. So I'd like you to imagine that we are spending the majority of our day on the surface of the ocean, bobbling up and down, up and down, up and down. We've got thoughts happening, we've got interactions, we've got life happening. Okay. And what the mantra does is we start picking it up and it starts to help the mind realize that it can drop and go beyond thinking. So that's the power of the mantra. It's like, oh, did you know that you can go down to this place down here, which is really calm? And the mantra just tells the mind, you can go down here. It kind of just opens the door. And then the mind will naturally gravitate towards this because it's a very natural place to be. When you sit in that place, it's like coming home. That's the way that I can describe it. It feels very natural. And what will happen is you'll go into that place and then you'll feel so, that the nervous system will feel so safe. That's when you start releasing stress. And so like a bubble at the bottom of the ocean will start rising up. So the meditation practice will be very much like this. We'll have thoughts and then we'll come back to our mantra and then we'll go into a deeper state. And then by being in that deep state, we are releasing stress. We are releasing whatever we're holding on to from our whole life and so on. And we start letting that go. And we're not sitting in there trying to analyze it. We're just allowing it to happen without us controlling it. So really, the trick is just to make sure that we sit down and we do our practice. We don't have to analyze anything. We'll start to feel different because you come out of the practice and you've just had this experience. You feel more calm. And like I said, this is a snowball effect. So the more consistency you have, the larger what we call the afterglow, the after effect of meditation will last longer into your day. So what we say is we go into meditation and we experience rest, the rest and digest state in the parasympathetic for 20 minutes each time. So that's 40 minutes a day that you weren't getting before. And what happens is you start to extend that after each meditation. So that will build. You'll have 40 minutes one day, then maybe you've got 50 minutes, 60 minutes an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. And eventually your whole day is in that state. And that means that stress can't come in and take over. It can't trigger you in the same way. It doesn't have that effect. Almost like you've got a force field around you. And you're going to still be aware of stress. And during the early days, that you'll be triggered, right? That's when people think they've gone wrong with meditations because they meditated, they felt good, and they got stressed again. And they're like, how does this even work? Like, it's not working. I'm getting stressed. But it's very normal. And we have to be realistic with this. But the more we do it, the more people realize that they become a lot less reactive. And when they're a lot less reactive, it means they're not taking on as much new stress. And this is why we do 2 meditations a day. One is in the afternoon and the evening. I call this the maintenance meditation. So you sit down, you've had your experience of the day, all the stresses that have happened. You sit down and you're literally just wiping the slate clean. So you're not taking all of that stress with you when you go to sleep. So the body doesn't have to like sort it all out and try and work it all out. Okay, experiences and dreams and all that kind of thing. We're wiping that slate clean, which means we're not taking on anything new. Okay. And then we wake up the next day and we sit up and we do our meditation. And with that meditation, there's no maintenance left. We did that the previous day. We're going to now start working on the old stuff, the reason why people turn up to learn meditation in the first place. And that's what we need to start to do, is to reverse all of the things that we've accumulated in our life. Okay. This is the reason we have 2. One is maintenance. One is getting to the juicy stuff we've been holding on since childhood, and our parents' stuff and their parents' stuff and so on. That's how we change. Okay. So we need to reduce the input of stress. And yes, we can do things, and we can do things to reduce our environmental stress for sure. Everybody can do that. Doing things that they don't feel safe doing. relationships that aren't working, friction creates tension, stress, more and more stress. Yeah, jobs that they don't like, but they do it because that's the career. Okay, you're literally in a place where you don't feel safe, you don't feel inspired or fulfilled, but you still do it because we need a salary, we need to get paid. So there are loads of different angles with this, and what I would say is, if you decide to learn this practice one day, it's something that naturally unfolds. So we're not trying to stop to do other things. It's we'll just feel it. And I always say, like, if somebody, like an alcoholic, right, or somebody who smokes cigarettes, they have some addiction. They're not learning meditation to stop that thing. They're learning meditation to remove the stress, remove all of that stuff, so they can just sit with themselves more. And they're not looking for external things to find that safety and that happiness from within. So ultimately, this practice is there designed, it's been there for thousands of years, and it's there for somebody to become the best version that they can be. And the reason and how we get to that point is because we start removing stress. And we know, like I said at the beginning, stress is one of the biggest causes of illnesses today. I haven't been to the doctor for years. You know, I've never, and I used to go a lot. Like, my best friend was my GP at one point because I was going in for blood tests. There's something wrong, or I was sick, or whatever. And as a kid, I was always sick. So we just don't get unwell anymore because there's that safety. The immune system can work properly. It doesn't mean that I don't get sick. It means that I can get sick, but I can fight it off very fast because the immune system is just ready to be used. And that's what happens when our nervous system comes back into balance. It's not spending all its time in our rest and digest state, because that sounds like a great thing, right? But really, it's there to help us heal. But we don't need to be in that state because that requires energy to heal the body. So when someone learns this practice, they're like, well, I feel so sleepy, I feel so tired. It's because they're just switching on their healing capabilities. Okay, the body's just starting to heal. So allow that tiredness. If you need to sleep a little bit longer, or if you need to take a 10-minute nap after your meditation for a bit, allow it to happen, because that's what the body's crying out for. So we honor that, we realize that that's what's happening, and then in time you won't need to go into the parasympathetic anymore because you're not being triggered as much. You're going to fall into what we call homeostasis, which is that perfect point where we're not in the fight or flight and we're not in the rest and digest. We're in balance, which means our energy stores are not being touched. So eventually we don't need to sleep for as much. Okay. We don't need to eat in the way that we used to eat, because everything in the nervous system, everything in our body becomes very efficient. Okay. So we're not getting tired for doing something. Yeah. We have more energy. It's just there. It's waiting to be used. You can treat the afternoon meditation a little bit like a siesta. It's like a serious power nap. You know, you can be very tactical with your meditations. You know, if you've got a presentation or something, then you can do a meditation before that presentation because it calms you down. Yeah. So it's very transformative in the way that, but it's very simple because all we're doing is getting rid of stress and reducing the amount of stress that can enter our system. Yeah. We're becoming more robust. And then because we've done that, because we've put that in place, it means that we can really understand what it is to be human. And that's where the spiritual part of meditation comes in. So the first part is cleaning up the stress. We call this the stress cleanup, purifying our nervous system. And then the body is then ready to have experiences. So we see more, we smell more, we touch, we feel, we can literally experience all the senses differently. It's more enriched because we haven't got that dullness from all the stress and the information that's coming to our awareness. So you really do start to follow your truth. And when you do that, fulfillment comes to you. Fulfillment and happiness starts to just emerge. Okay. So that's a little bit, you know, why we do it, how how we do it. But yeah, the trick really is with the mantra and those particular sounds that have a resonance, a frequency, a vibration with the mind that allows it to go, oh, I don't need to be doing this the whole time. I can go into that stillness. And this tradition has been around for a very long time. They still have the tradition is still in India at the moment, but it predates Hinduism. So Hinduism would have come from this knowledge of what we call the Veda. So yeah. Any questions about any of that? You can put yourself off mute if you have any questions. No? Okay. What we'll do is I'll guide you through a little meditation. I'm going to give you a sound, and the sound is which one shall I give you? It's going to be it's going to mean sun, as we are in summer. Most of us anyway. Tracy, I don't think you are, but are you actually? No, you're not. You're not in the summer, are you, Tracy? If you're South Africa,
we're in the winter,
yeah.
But that's okay. It doesn't matter.
Maybe we can activate a bit more sun.
Yeah, bring on the warmth.
You're probably getting more sun than we're getting most of the time anyway. So.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah.
With it, I did have a question actually. The sound that you're going to give us, is that sound, does it sort of belong to you as a teacher? How does that come about?
So this sound that I'm giving you isn't actually a mantra. It's what we call a sutra. And a sutra is something we would do as an advanced practice. But it's very good for demonstrating how the practice works because it's a nice sound. But yes, as a teacher, I have a repertoire of mantras that are passed down to me, and they're actually funny enough that the last thing. So after I after I passed my final tests to become a teacher, it was the last thing that you're given are these mantras, and then we had to go memorize and learn these mantras. A lot of the training is to how to discern, to pass on the right mantra to each individual student. So behind me, you would see a big picture here on the sort of leaning against the wall. We call this the holy tradition, and that represents the tradition. As somebody, if you wanted to learn, you'd have fruit and flowers with you, and you would light a candle, and that would be like an offering to this tradition, and recognizing that I didn't create this tradition. I'm just another teacher that's learned how to pass this knowledge on. But yeah, it's a wonderful thing to experience. You've got me chanting in Sanskrit, which is that ancient, not a spoken language anymore, but it's very onomatopoeic in a sense that the sounds match the universe and all the laws of nature. And so that's what these bija mantras are, is they're these sounds that match a frequency within you that allow you to then go beyond thought entirely. So it's a little bit like a secret password code, like a combination code, the way that it works. So because we call this transcending, when we go beyond thought, transcending. When you experience that more and more, you realize just how natural this is. And my thought process is that babies, when they come into this world, they can probably naturally do this. It's just as we go through life and we have more and more stress that we lose this connection. So what this is doing is it's just helping us reconnect with who we are and so on. Yeah, it's what I have to perform that ceremony, and then I would then pass on the mantra to that individual, and that would be the mantra they have probably for the rest of their lives. So you wouldn't have to get another one and another one and another one. And there's actually no meaning as well. A lot of people ask, like, so what does this mean? but it's actually the effortless thinking of the mantra which is important. And if we have a meaning for it, then we associate that with when we're thinking effortlessly in the mind, the mantra. So it's best not to attach any meaning, and it's more about the frequency and the sound and how it affects us. So, yeah.
Okay.
For this situation, I'm going to give you this sound. It's called Surya, Surya, and it means sun. And yeah, it's great. It's for energy. It's for lightness. It's any quality that you can associate with the sun, heat. It's a very nice one to do. So what I'm going to do is you're going to make sure that you're sitting comfortably, and you're going to be vaguely upright. So you have your back supported. I will then ask you to close your eyes, and you can turn, if you feel uncomfortable having your eyes closed in front of everyone, then I invite you to turn off the camera, and if you're worried about that. And yeah, close your eyes, just relax into your chair, just release your shoulders. And then I'm going to guide you through the whole thing. There will be moments where there'll be no voice, no word from me, and I'm going to leave you to it. And then at the end, I'm going to bring you out of it. Okay. So a little thing before we get started, I'm going to give you a little breathing exercise. And this is really good because it just takes the edge off. This is what breath work is for. Like yoga, you have yoga, breath work, and then meditation. The yoga and the breath work are there to prepare us to go into a deeper meditation. So you've got the whole world fixated on one or the other. And actually, what they were traditionally for was to prepare us to go into an even deeper state. So breath work in this situation is very useful to just help calm the mind down a little bit faster. So then we can go in and just bathe in that stillness. Okay. You're going to have thoughts. Thoughts are going to come up. You're going to have experiences, thoughts, and mantra. But what I want you to do is we're going to do what we call the physiological sigh. It's very simple. We are breathing into the belly through the nose, and then we're going to breathe into the chest, and then we're going to do a quick sip through the nose. Okay, so follow me. I'll do one demonstration, then I'll guide you through it. So breathe in through the nose, fill up the belly. That stretches your diaphragm down. Then breathe into the chest, and then a quick sip, and then slowly out of the mouth. Inhale through the nose, fill up the belly, fill up the chest, quick sip, and then a slow out exhale out of the mouth. Inhale through the nose, fill up the belly, chest, quick sip, exhale out of the mouth. Inhale through the nose, filling up that belly, chest, quick sip. Now close your eyes if they're not already closed. And I'm going to say the word Surya, and you can just repeat it in the mind after I say it. And then eventually I'm just going to allow you to continue to say it by yourself in the mind. Surya. 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 I'm going to get quieter now with it. And you should also get quieter in the mind with it as well. Surya. And now start to gently repeat it very slowly in your minds by yourself. And when you become aware of a thought, just come back to repeating Surya. Thoughts are a very important part of this practice. It means that we're releasing stress. So it's all good. And whenever you're aware of a thought, just come back to using Surya. Jai Gurudev. Just keep your eyes closed. And this is when you can rest your head against something if you want to. But we let go of using Surya. And we just allow the mind to go in any direction it wants to. Don't try and control it. But we have a few minutes of rest. When you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes. Now, any questions? Who felt like they felt relaxed, or who felt like they were more agitated, or more thoughts, and so on?
Very relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah, very relaxed. There wasn't music though. Was I missing music?
No, there wasn't music. No.
Okay, all right, fine. Okay. No, it was I normally do guided meditation. So that was a new one for me and quite nice and easy, and it was really nice. I really enjoyed it.
This is very different to the app
Guided.
with guided. So guided
Yeah.
meditation is, and I have them on my app as well. They are useful.
Yeah.
For
Yeah. That's
sleep and yoga nidra and particular
Yeah.
situations. But they're not going to do what this does.
No, this was powerful.
There's no ceiling with this. This is why it's one of the most powerful meditations there are, because it's limitless in what you can do. There's you can do the first course and you can literally have that for the rest of your life. It's like riding a bike. Once you learn, or learning to drive, once you learn how to do it, you have it and it's with you the whole time. And so we don't need music. You can actually meditate anywhere you want. It can be a noisy environment. It doesn't have to be quiet. It doesn't have to be dark. You can do it on the beach. So basically anywhere that you have a comfortable chair, you can meditate. The noise around us is just triggering more thinking. And when we become aware of thought, we come back to the mantra. So there's a bit of a dance with thoughts and the mantra at the beginning, and eventually that settles. But this is, it's when you talk about meditation, we're either talking about mindfulness, which isn't really meditation. It's kind of let's say it's more of a branch of what meditation can do. That knowledge, a symptom, a benefit of Vedic meditation is becoming more mindful. You naturally become more mindful as a person because you're going to the root cause of the issues. And that's exactly what this does. This is why I recovered from a chronic illness that modern medicine doesn't know anything about. They just tell you to manage it, right? And actually what I wanted to do was reverse it and for it never to come back again. But it set me on this path. And, we've just gone through a period of a lot of people getting long COVID. Same thing as chronic illness. Long COVID is basically just, and it put the spotlight, which is great for a lot of reasons, because perfectly healthy people were getting long COVID. And these techniques are amazing for that. It forces people to go into that stillness. And the more people we can get into that stillness, the better the world's going to be. Yeah. They're going to go out and they're going to live their purpose. And it becomes a contagious thing, right? For teachers, we only need 1% of the world to learn this practice. And if 1% can do that, then the rest of the world doesn't need to meditate. Yeah, there's a ripple effect that happens. You put one meditator in a room with maybe not a bunch of narcissists, but maybe some very negative people. That one person will be able to then start to change the energy in that room. Yeah. And it's very powerful. It's like the opposite way, how somebody really negative comes into a room and the energy just goes, plummets. It can go the other way. And that's what this does. So yeah, it's very cool. But it's very different to the meditations that we're used to, being guided, or you have, visual meditations as well. Contemplative and concentrative forms of those types. Contemplative, kind of going around, we're being guided. Okay. Concentrative, we're focusing on our breath. We're focusing on an object, like they would do with a flame or something like that, or an object. They're focusing on that with a soft gaze. And what we call this practice, what we call it is effortless transcendence. And it fits in between the two, because we've got a little bit of concentration, but not quite. And we're coming in and out of the concentration. And it can also be very visual, but we're not under anybody's control. And so with a guided meditation, you can be brought out of it when the facilitator needs to finish, but actually what you might need is a bit longer. And so that's where that ceiling is it's not allowing you to go to that deepness on command every day. And that's what you're training. You're training yourself to be able to just fall into that consistently. And it basically comes out and it is your life. So you open your eyes, but the whole experience is almost like you're in a meditation, but you have your eyes open in that. And that's what you're building towards. So there is a bigger purpose, not just getting rid of stress with this.
Sam, something I found very interesting is what you said about breath work versus meditation.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought that I know there's the Wim Hof breathing method. So, because I've got a Whoop, which my brother gifted to me, and and you've got to fill out a journal, and the journal goes, okay, well, breath work, and did you meditate? So, what really is the difference there? Is breath work part of the yoga process of your flow, and then your meditation is a deeper practice, right?
Yeah. So when we have the term yoga, what is actually meant by yoga is union, right? And so yoga is the umbrella term for yoga, which are actually called asanas, the postures that we do in yoga.
Yeah.
And then we have pranayama, which is breath work, and then we have dhyan, which is meditation. They are all parts of yoga.
Okay.
And so there is something called the 8 limbs of yoga, and asana, pranayama, and dhyan, meditation. All 3 of those are very vital parts in somebody's practice. But the magic, it comes from dhyan, because dhyan allows us to access what we call samadhi. And samadhi is transcendence. You're literally swimming in what we call the absolute state of consciousness. And the breath work can't get you there, because you're not in what we call restful alertness. And so breath work is very good for exactly what I with the Wim Hof method, which is similar.
Stress.
He didn't actually invent anything. He was just using an old traditional form of breathing and made it popular with cold exposure. So
right, okay.
it's, you know, those forms have been, those breathing forms have been around for thousands of years as well. And the same as the yoga postures, right? They've always been there. It's
Yeah.
just, are they highlighted? And so breath work is, we use breathwork meditation to balance out the different hemispheres of the brain. Now, there are particular, because science has observed, like the physiological side is very, it's very good at bringing you back into that parasympathetic, in that restful state, which is what we need to be in order to go really deep into the meditation practice. So whenever I'm teaching someone, I wouldn't force them to do the breath work, but it is very beneficial. But it's more important to do the meditation and then add the breath work in as a like a preset, like a prerequisite, precursor to just amplify the meditation. But if there's a time thing going on in someone's routine, then meditation's priority, then the breath work, and then I would encourage some form of gentle yoga to open up the body.
Okay. But like you did the breath work before we did this meditation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that's breath work is a little bit like low-hanging fruit.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying
It's easy.
It's easier, but it still, you know, requires effort to do breath work.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's more of a concentrative form, where you're focusing on something, an action that you're doing.
Yeah.
It's very much, there are definitely benefits to it, but it's not going to give you what meditation does. And I have this conversation with a lot of breathwork facilitators, and breathwork can be very good at allowing releases in the body, like physical releases.
Yeah.
Breathwork can be very physical, and that can often disguise itself as real progress because you're feeling something different. And with Wim Hof, your fingers start to tingle, and you feel a physical sensation. You actually get that meditation, but it takes more practice. And in time, you're not just sitting there and you're having a cool experience in the mind. You're feeling different things in the body.
Yeah.
The sensations that I experienced in meditation, I didn't have for the first 3 years. So you're building, and as you purify and purify and purify, you feel.
Yeah, I don't feel there. I do a bit of vision as well.
Yeah.
And the tingling sensations, I don't get those, not yet.
But everybody has a different experience. There are some common ones, but it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you.
No, that doesn't bother me if I don't. I know it will come when it's meant to.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That was very powerful and amazing. I want to find out more about it. Are you going to be doing a course, or what are you?
Yeah, so I do a course every month, a group course. There is also, I've just introduced what I call the private hybrid, because I had so many emails where people couldn't do the group course. So I've kind of done the first session's always private. So if you do a group course, the first session's always private with me. We do the ceremony and so on in a private setting, like a little bit like this. And then we'll join up as a group for the following 3 days. So it's over 4 consecutive days, 7 hours in total. So 1 hour on the first day, 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours. With the private hybrid, it's 1 hour, like before, and then followed by 2 recorded calls from a group course, and then followed by another private session at your choosing. So once you've watched the second video, the third session, you can then book another session in with me. So it offers flexibility because it technically means that you can start any day of the week. As soon as you can book that first session in with me, then it's kind of automated in that way. And you can always ask questions and stuff. And then you get access also to the app, where there's what we call the Vedic. I call the Vedic members area. So you'll get access to, all the resources that you need to get the most out of your practice and get it into your daily routine. You then have 3 months membership with the app, which will give you access to 2 group meditations that I do for Vedic students every single week. So you get to meet the other members in the community and so on. So I'm also going to be building out like the chat feature inside the app once I've had a break and had some time off, on holiday.
Where are you going on holiday?
I'm going to Menorca.
Oh, lovely. Enjoy.
Yeah, we haven't been to Menorca before. I've been to Majorca, but not Menorca. Menorca's supposed to be a bit nicer, so I'm told. It's nicer. And because I'm in Lisbon, so it's not too far to fly from here.
Oh no, fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very nice. Well, enjoy.
We get sunshine a lot of the time here, which is lovely. So Judith, you just send a message. With Vedic meditation, we cap it at, especially for the first year, 20 minutes twice a day. Twice a day, yeah. Because we want to space those meditations out. We don't want to do them too close together. So we have like morning and evening, morning, lunchtime, evening, that type of thing. Because we need to allow more experience to happen throughout the day so that the meditation can soak up that stress. If we meditated two together, then you've got the whole day of experience. And so we want to spread them out. And it takes, I always say to people, to really understand what this practice does, we have to give it a good 3 months, good 12 weeks, because that allows the change in the brain. And when the brain and the pathways and neural pathways start to change, that's when other people in your life start to notice the differences in you. They start asking questions. It's like going to the gym, right? You start going to the gym and you don't see any changes for the first 8 weeks. And then you start to notice a few differences. And then after about 12 weeks, people start recognizing and start noticing and start asking questions. Same thing with this. But we need 3 months in order to get this into our routine and get that consistency, so it becomes a non-negotiable part of your daily routine. Once that's in, you're going to want to do this practice. You're going to look forward to doing it. Yeah. So that's why I have
it at the beginning of the year, so it's not too long.
Yeah.
And I was always used to guided meditation, and 4 months ago I started with meditation in silence.
Yeah.
So I'm just practicing.
Yeah, good. It's we often think that it's too difficult, or I don't know how to do it, or I've got a noisy mind and it's impossible to do meditation because I can't quiet my mind down. That's the amazing thing with this, is you don't have to. The prerequisite, you need to be able to think. If you can think, you can meditate. So we associate a good meditation with no thinking. It's untrue. And science is proving this now. You can sit there in a meditation using the mantra, using the sound in the mind, and the brain is still going to those states that we need it to. Okay. And you can literally sit there and report, I just had thought after thought after thought, but it's still happening. The physical effects are still playing out. It's normal at the beginning to have some thoughts, to be, we say the first 15 minutes can be thought filled sometimes. And then sometimes students report, oh, that went really fast, because they were in it, they were fully in it, and the 20 minutes feels like 2 minutes. So there's I always say to students to just release any expectation from the experience, because as a teacher, I'm not bothered about the experience. It's not really about that. It's how you start feeling afterwards, and how it changes your sleep, and it improves your sleep very quickly. You'll usually sleep and the reactivity of somebody, you're going to notice that things don't trigger you in the same way. They've got less of a hold. And then the benefits just keep coming. Like I just said to my wife the other day, I've been doing this for 9 years, and I still get different experiences, different feelings, different things that I feel that could be improved in my life. And just, I should really do something about this thing. Why am I allowing this to happen? I said we had a personal thing with a family member who's very difficult. It's like, why are we doing this? Why are we? First of all, I was like, I'm a meditation teacher, for goodness sake. Why am I still allowing this to happen? We're just like, I've had enough of this. We don't need this in our life. This is another test, and we've been pushed again, and it's happened again. So we must do the difficult thing, right? And it gets you, really helps and supports you in those difficult situations. But yeah, it's an interesting time.
But can you compare this to vipassana meditation? So if a thought comes up, you just recognize it, say, okay, you can be here, and then pass it to the right side, say, okay, it's
This
gone.
is easier. This is easier than vipassana.
Yeah.
So vipassana is for monks. Okay. Actually, I didn't talk about this. The type of meditation that I do, that I teach, is for people that we call householders. And householders are people who have family, they have possessions, they have jobs, right? Everyday people like us. And then we have the monastics, and the role of the monastics in life is to be in isolation, to not have possessions, to give up, to just go on their journey without the distractions of the world. And in order to do that, they can then teach more, they can give more insight. So that's their role. It's not a selfish one, it's one of dedication. But actually, this practice, the Vedic meditation, is there to offer both. It's to offer and to realize that you can have that monastic, the qualities of the monastic life, but in a householder environment. So this practice is traditionally much easier to integrate into everyday, and it's more gentle in the way that it works. We're not, vipassana, you're kind of taught to acknowledge pain and to kind of be in pain, but go beyond the pain. With this practice, we're doing everything that we can in order to be comfortable.
Would you
Because
recommend to combine this with affirmations, or just do the meditation without affirmations?
Probably the most powerful thing is to have the meditation practice as a foundation, and then bringing in the affirmations afterwards. So if you see anything on my Instagram, you will notice occasionally I will talk about meditation.
Yeah.
Once we have that in place, the affirmations become much more potent, and our ability to manifest is coming from an aligned place. So a lot of people want to manifest because they're manifesting from a place of fear. What we want to do is get them into a place of safety. They will then start manifesting from that, and that's when it becomes much more interesting, and things start happening, because the universe is matching our frequency. The universe will not reward things when it's coming from a state of fear.
Yeah.
It has to come from a state of stillness. So yeah, we do it like that.
Okay, because if I wake up in the morning, the first one is to do my affirmations and then go for meditation. So it's the other way around.
But it's good, doing affirmations is better than not doing anything. And that's why I talk about affirmations, right, on Instagram, because just doing that little thing will make a difference. It's brain retraining. But if you want to amplify those things, meditation first, affirmations. Yeah. It's always been taught like that for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Affirmations are
logical.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we bring in manifestation down the line as well, when we really start to identify with what it is we want.
I love what you do on Instagram.
Thank you.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Beautiful work for so many people.
Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you.
I had no idea it would be this popular. When I started the Instagram like a year and a half ago, I think I started to put effort in.
It will increase the next month.
Oh, it's going. It's huge. Like it's like 1,000 new people a day at the moment.
Good look. I've only just joined, actually.
Sorry?
I've only just joined. I've only just found you. So.
Oh, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
You've dived straight into the Vedic part.
I did. I saw it. I thought, what the hell is that? I'm going to need to find out. So there we go.
So many golden nuggets, Janet. So many golden nuggets.
Well,
to the next class, people will come from
I have to go.
Okay.
Sam, sorry, I have to go. It was lovely to see you all, and thank you so much for tonight. I'm going to find out more about your course and Thank you. It was so powerful, really. I didn't
Right.
think I could be so still in a silent meditation. So thank you.
Pleasure, pleasure, pleasure.
Lovely to see you and have a lovely holiday, Sam.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.